Welcome back to Croft for the second TCR UK race of the day. Now, race 1 produced its own drama, but race 2 has got the addition of the reverse grid to really mix things up. One team that's dominated proceedings all season is West Coast Racing, and they've already secured the team championship with races to go. And I caught up with team manager James Nixon.
I mean, of course, it's nice to win any title, to take the first. Okay, we get our name on the first plate on the trophy, and hopefully we get another one next year as well. Well, this year was the first year with everybody, Dan and Jessica and Andreas together, and new to the team as well. When we arrived in Silverstone, the bond was quite good between all of them, and actually Dan has helped and become the driver coach for Andreas and Jessica, and they work really well. This is our third year racing with TCR, and it's the concept that we believed in from the very beginning of TCR International. TCR UK being the first year, we felt it was a good platform for us to come out of Sweden. Yeah, of course, when we arrived in Silverstone, we didn't know any of the other drivers or the competition and teams. With the drivers that we've had, they've done a great job this year. Of course, Dan was in there from the beginning to go for the championship, and Jessica and Andreas were there to learn. Here we are in the penultimate round, and now Andreas and Jessica both fighting for podiums, and of course Dan is able to win the championship this weekend, and if he doesn't win it this weekend, of course we're in Donington for the next race, and hopefully it's all wrapped up early.
Well, what a performance there from West Coast Racing, and to take the title with races to go is quite an achievement. We are ready now for race 2, so without further ado, over to our race commentator, Andy McEwen.
Thank you very much, Bryn. Yep, cars are on the grid ahead of the second race of the weekend here at Croft. And as Bryn documented, it is a jumbled grid with the reversal of the second fastest times in qualifying. And it is Ollie Taylor who has the pole position, with his Team Pyro stablemate, the Verizon Connect run Honda Civic of Finley Crocker alongside him. Now, a bit of news between the races. We have sadly lost Daryl Wilson. Daryl Wilson, we saw, didn't finish the first race. There was an issue with the car that unfortunately can't be fixed ahead of race number 2. They don't have the part for it. So Daryl Wilson will not be out there for this one. Everyone else will be, though. And Ollie Taylor and Finley Crocker will head up the front row of the grid. Now, there is Dan Lloyd. He is still the championship leader, despite the fact that he has lost points to Ollie Taylor in both qualifying and race 1. He's 71 points ahead of Ollie coming into this race. There are 91 points available at Donington Park next time out. So, for Dan to win the championship in this race, he has to take 20 points, well actually 21 points essentially, out of Ollie Taylor. Although 20 points would do it, because in that case all that Ollie could do was tie with Dan at Donington, and of course then it would go to the tiebreak on race wins, and even with a pair of victories at Donington, Ollie would still not have as many victories as Dan Lloyd would. So essentially 20 points is the target here for Dan Lloyd. Now that means that if Dan were to win the race, Ollie would have to finish down in 6th position for that to change. So that is the target. If Dan wins the race and Ollie is 6th, Dan is the champion provisionally. That, however, you'd have to say, unless there are dramas for Ollie Taylor, is not necessarily all that likely to happen. So it's looking increasingly likely that the title is going to go all the way down to the final round at Donington Park. But if Ollie Taylor can beat Dan Lloyd, and of course even better for Ollie if he can beat him by a few positions, then it could start getting really very tasty indeed going to the final round, because with 40 points available for a race victory, Dan would really be feeling the pressure then. One non-finish at Donington Park and it could all be over for him. So this is a really pivotal race in the 2018 title campaign, and with Ollie Taylor at the front and of course Dan Lloyd starting back in 6th place on the grid, because he of course he had that grid penalty to serve in race 1, the second fastest times in qualifying. Well, he actually set quite a good time, so perversely that sort of hurt his time, and so he will now have to start down 5th place, excuse me, on the grid, not 6th, so 5th alongside Stuart Lyons on the 3rd row of the grid. So Dan Lloyd doesn't have quite as much work to do to work his way up the order as he did in the first race. And of course, the two cars directly in front of him are his two teammates, Jessica Beckman in the other West Coast Racing VW, and that man there, Andreas Beckman, the Race 1 victor, took his first ever TCR race victory in Race 1 with a dominant lights to flag performance, almost a Dan Lloyd-esque performance from early on in the season. And of course, we saw Ashley Sutton last time out at Alton Park taking a dominant double race victory in the newer shape FK7 Honda Civic Type R, and this the FK2 car that we've seen raced previously this year by Howard Fuller to a podium finish, in fact, at Brands Hatch, and Sean Walkinshaw, of course, as well, who raced the car at Knock Hill. Well, on this occasion, the car is being run by West Coast Racing, and that means that it is still a teammate car to Dan Lloyd. However, I believe, having heard through the grapevine, that there are no team orders at West Coast Racing. The Teams Championship, which was their priority, that's been wrapped up now, as we've just heard. So really, as far as the team are concerned, the drivers can go out and race. Of course, they can't hit each other, they can't do anything to hurt their races, but if they want to go out there and fight for position, they are perfectly entitled to do so. So what I'm saying is that there's no reason to suspect that either Andreas or Jessica Beckman are going to simply leap out of Dan Lloyd's way and let him on through. Dan will have to fight for this, and then of course he'll arrive potentially onto the tail of the second of the Pyro Motorsport run Honda Civics, and of course Pyro Motorsport running Ollie Taylor's car. They also run the Verizon Connect car of Finley Crocker. It runs as the Verizon Connect team, but it is run out of the Team Pyro stable. So Finley, again, not out there to help Ollie Taylor necessarily, but if he really gets his elbows out and sort of holds off Dan Lloyd for a little while, that could allow Ollie Taylor to get away. Remember back in our first race of the day, we saw tyre wear becoming a real factor. Some drivers struggling more than others, it seemed, to keep the tyres underneath them throughout the second half of the race. And Ollie Taylor, arguably, was one of the drivers who struggled the most. And so, although he starts on pole position, he's not got this one sewn up just yet. He's got to try and manage the tyres. No doubt the team will have been working on the car between sessions. They'll have been trying to get the car to last a little bit longer on its rubber, and hopefully they have made changes that have worked in that respect, and Ollie will not only have speed for the first few laps, but he might just be able to hold on to the lead till the end. There are so many questions to be answered in this race, and over the course of the next 20 minutes they will be answered. And will we have a champion crowned in the shape of Dan Lloyd, or is Ollie Taylor going to be able to do enough to take it down to the wire at Donington Park? Well, the grid has been cleared. The cars are about to head off onto their final green flag lap. We've had brief rain showers all day, really. They haven't yet really affected the TCR race. Well, it didn't affect the first TCR race, and it's bone dry again now for our second race. But through some of our support races today, we've seen rain showers sort of crop up out of nowhere across the track and really cause chaos. So there is still rain in the air, there is showers in the area, and so it is possible that we're going to see some rain at some point in the next 20 minutes. Of course, all the cars will run on slick tyres, and so that will make life very, very entertaining for us, very nerve-wracking for the drivers if that happens. So the field off onto the green flag lap. The field will be rounded out by Lewis Kent, who was due to start third on the grid for this one, but they took the car out of Parc Fermé early so as to have time to repair the car. It had clutch issues after race 1. He still, though, managed to set a really, really good lap time in race 1, despite the fact he was having to lift off so as to look after the clutch. So Lewis Kent, hopefully they've got that fixed now, and he should be able to go out there and move up the order. This, as we said in race 1, a circuit that should suit that car fairly well. So here is confirmation of your grid then. Ollie Taylor, the man who is 71 points away from the championship lead, lines up on pole position with the similar car of Finley Crocker alongside him. Then it's the pair of Beckmans. Race 1 winner Andreas is ahead of Jessica on the second row of the grid, and directly behind them in fifth on the grid is the championship leader, their teammate Daniel Lloyd. Stuart Lyons, who was involved in contact with Dan Lloyd, is back with him again on the third row of the grid, much to Dan's delight, I'm sure, whilst Lewis Kent brings up the rear of the field. So Lewis 7th on the grid. Can he work his way forward? Lewis, remember, has had a couple of podium finishes this year, one at Brands Hatch in the first race and one in race 2 at Alton Park last time out. So his season has definitely been getting better, actually, after a bit of a scrappy first couple of meetings. From Brands Hatch onwards, Lewis has rarely been out of the top 5, so Lewis Kent definitely one to watch. As long as they've got that clutch issue sorted, he should move the order. He'll probably be trying to follow Dan through and, if possible, get in front of him, of course. So this is the thing for Dan Lloyd. It may not be the largest grid of cars you've ever seen, but each and every one of the drivers out there has a point to prove, and whether it be one of his championship contenders or a driver looking for a really good result or some retribution maybe after a bad first race, Dan will have to contend with them all, and the first lap in particular will be a very, very nervous minute or so for Dan and for the West Coast Racing team watching on from the pit lane. But as I said, he wants to win the championship in this race. He has to beat Ollie Taylor, and then it's all down to sort of where Ollie finishes in the race. And if Ollie's anywhere inside the top 5, then it doesn't matter where Dan Lloyd finishes, the championship will go down to Donington Park. So that is the equation that we've got here for the points. We'll update you on that as we go through the race. Right now, all eyes are turning towards the starting gantry as the cars pull in on the start-finish line, and they make their way now towards their respective grid positions. And Dan Lloyd it is who will be feeling all of the pressure now ahead of this 12th round of the 2018 TCR UK campaign. The green flag waves at the back of the grid. The final race of the weekend here from Croft is about to get underway. Ollie Taylor and Finley Crocker on the front row of the grid. The lights go out, we're away and racing, and Ollie Taylor makes a good start from pole position. Not such a good start from Finley Crocker though, so Andreas Beckman may be able to challenge him down towards turn 1. No, I think Crocker will hang on, so it's now down to the 3 West Coast Racing cars to sort it out for third position. Andreas on the inside, Jessica on the outside, and Dan Lloyd slips on the inside of his teammate. Lewis Kent is in there as well, trying to follow him through. Oh, he gets all out of shape though. Jessica Beckman I think will fight back, so it's Taylor that leads the way. It's Crocker second, Andreas Beckman is third, Dan Lloyd making one position. Oh, Dan Lloyd's off! Dan Lloyd off onto the grass, I don't believe it! Dan Lloyd has gone off on the first lap. I think he hit the tyre stack and he's gone off the road. The championship leader is out of the race. Dan Lloyd has finished every race so far this year and he's off the road on the first lap. Would you believe it? Dan Lloyd, there you can see the damage to the front right corner. Those tyre stacks through the first few corners, if you clip them, you can very easily damage your front suspension, and that is exactly what's happened to Dan Lloyd. Now it is imperative that Ollie Taylor wins this race, because if he wins it, he takes 40 points out of that 71-point cushion that is currently enjoyed by Dan Lloyd. Dan is not going to score, and Ollie Taylor has just been handed a golden opportunity to really take the fight to Dan Lloyd at the final round. Across the line they go in race number 1. Well, what can Andreas Beckman do? That now becomes the question, because he was, along with Dan Lloyd, the fastest car on the track in race number 1. So if he can get past Finley Crocker here, there's every chance to go after the race leader. Lewis Kent in the background was going up the inside of Jessica Beckman and goes through. So Lewis Kent is also making the progress that we expected him to in race 1. Kent is now into 4th position, and he will now also be applying the pressure to Andreas Beckman in front. Through the Jim Clark S's they go. Lewis is sensing an opportunity for a podium here. I would say though that Andreas Beckman is sensing an opportunity for another race victory, because as I was about to make the point, if he gets past Finley Crocker, he may have the pace to go after Ollie Taylor. Well, Dan Lloyd looks back at his car in disgust as he is out of the race. His first retirement of the year. Now let's see if we can see what happens here. Dan Lloyd there, the grey car with the green flashes on the inside line, just behind Andreas Beckman. He turns into the first part of the chicane, and does he hit that tyre stack? It's about to come through now, and oh, it's just going to be out of shot, isn't it, I think, when he goes into the corner. But you can see the wheel is broken already, the suspension's broken already. He must have hit the tyres going through the chicane. That is the only real explanation, and off he goes, pitched onto the grass. Dan Lloyd out of the race for the first time all season. Well, the lead gap is 1.1 seconds between the 2 Team Pyro cars, the Verizon Connect car of Finley Crocker in second place, who has yet to have a podium finish all year long. He's had, in his own words, when I spoke to him this morning, a stinker of a season. Things have just gone from bad to worse. He missed the previous round at Alton Park. Of course, the car was driven to 2 race victories by Aston Sutton, so we know that the car can do it. But coming into this weekend, Finley Crocker's best finish was a 6th place. Now, he bettered that in race 1 when he finished in 4th position, but he's never had a TCR podium, and he's in 2nd place now, trying to fend off the race 1 race winner. That, though, is the fastest man on the circuit. Lewis Kent in 4th position with a 1:27.001 has set the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's in behind Andreas Beckman. He locks up and runs wide though. Lewis needs to be careful here. He's been criticised in the past maybe for pushing a little bit too hard in the early stages and maybe overusing the tyres. But Lewis Kent needs to be careful. If he keeps the tyres underneath him, he has a really good opportunity to get a really good result. Well, a dramatic start to the race, Bryn. What have you got for us down in the pit lane?
It's fantastic in this race and the drama from the very, very beginning. I've just spoken to James Nixon at West Coast Racing, and he said to me that word from Dan was that Dan said he didn't hit the tyres, so they don't actually know what caused it. But Dan is adamant at this stage that he didn't clip any tyres. It may have just happened straight after he hit the curb, though.
Right, okay, thanks very much for that, Bryn. So it may not have been the tyres, it may have been the curb. He certainly hit something that he shouldn't have hit, he has unfortunately been taken out of the race, so the race is well and truly on now. Ollie Taylor trying to manage this gap, I think, at the front of the field. He's 1.5 seconds clear of Finlay Crocker. He's not scooting away, he's just on a personal best lap though, but we await to see whether or not the race comes to some of the cars behind, because in race 1 Ollie really suffered with front tyre wear. Crocker is second, third place is Andreas Beckman, not actually applying quite the level of pressure I expected him to. And behind, look, Lewis Kent, something's happened to Lewis Kent this lap, because he was fourth and he's now back down into 6th place. Jessica Beckman and Stuart Lyons have both gone through, and is this a return of the clutch issues maybe, because Lewis Kent appears to have slowed down now. He's really off the pace, and he's just as things were starting to come good for him, he's dropped right down the order now, and he appears maybe to be heading into the pit lane. So the leaders turn their way through the complex again for the 4th time of asking. And unfortunately Lewis Kent out of the running, but we've still got the rest of the field running very close together. Stuart Lyons takes an interesting line through the middle part of the complex there, and in now towards the hairpin he goes again. The leaders come through, and the race lead, well, it was 1.5 seconds for Ollie Taylor, it is now 1.8 seconds. There's Lewis Kent, and it looks unfortunately like the clutch issues from race 1 have made a return. I can't see anything else that's visibly wrong with the car. It's certainly not going as quickly as it should have done. So 1.8 between the leaders. It's going out slightly now between Taylor and Crocker, and that may just spur Andreas Beckman into action here, because Andreas, I still believe if he can get into 2nd place, he might just have the speed to go after Ollie Taylor, but he, for the time being, just can't get past Finlay Crocker, who is defending slightly there. I thought they've driving down the middle of the road down towards Tower. There is Jessica in 4th position, Stuart Lyons still in 5th, and Lewis Kent has indeed into the pit lane in 6th position now, unfortunately. So out of Tower corner we go. There is Lewis Kent in the pit lane. And we are hearing it's possibly a puncture. That's interesting. Oh yes, there's no possibly about it. That tyre is definitely punctured, and in fact it's coming off the rim. So Lewis Kent, we said that he's been using the tyres pretty hard. Of course, it's possible that he hit some debris or hit a curb, but we know not yet the reason for that puncture. So the good news is it's not a return of the clutch issues, so he should be able to get back out there on track. And if he can get out without losing a lap, then a safety car period would bring him right back into play. But whether or not that happens, we will have to wait and see. Now, this is the fight for 2nd place, and Finlay Crocker is really having to make this Honda Civic a very, very wide one indeed, because he's got the older shaped Civic breathing down his neck now. Andreas Beckman trying to get the better exit from the hairpin, which he does, so that will only ever put him on the outside line down towards the 1st corner. And Andreas may not be that experienced at racing around Croft. He knows that's not really the place to be. Finlay Crocker driving down the inside of the road though, trying desperately to hang on for this 1st podium of the year. Turns in towards Mervo. Of course, the more vigorously he has to defend, then the more he will work the tyres, and then the more he will start to lose pace as the race goes on. This is playing beautifully though into the hands of Ollie Taylor, who is now 2.8 seconds clear up the road. Walks their way back through the chicane again, which is the scene of Dan Lloyd's demise on the opening lap, and Andreas Beckman now definitely looking the quicker of these two. Now, Finlay will want a podium result, but of course he'd rather that was a 2nd place finish than a 3rd place finish, not necessarily because it's worth any more points. He's already well and truly forgotten about scoring points. He's just out there now trying to get the best results that he can, but a 3rd place would still be better than a non-finish, and so Finlay, if he can get a 3rd place finish, it would still be his 1st podium of the year. He'd very much like to keep Beckman at bay though. Got a glimpse there of Dan Lloyd trudging back disconsolately into the pit lane. His day is done, and a championship that it looked like he might be able to wrap up this weekend. In fact, many were predicting he'd do it comfortably, and he's actually going to come away from here with the smallest championship advantage he's had since the start of the year. Well, the race continuing to bunch up out on the circuit. More news down in the pit lane is Bryn.
Yeah, thanks Andy. So I've just spoken to the team for Lewis Kent. It's going back into the pits as we speak right now. So the wheel itself has got a hole in it. They're not sure what's caused that. They probably won't know until the end of the race. But Lewis is now back into the pits. They're just going to check it over one more time. But at the moment, they cannot work out what has caused that. They're just trying to make a few more checks on the car before they send Lewis out once again.
That is a shame, isn't it? Because was still on the lead lap, but this second visit into the pit lane will now put him a lot down. So that is his race pretty much run now, although of course he'll still score points if he finishes, so it's working the car back out there if possible. Finley Crocker using all of the curb and more through the straight, but he's getting away now from Andreas Beckman. And interestingly and possibly significantly, he was 3/10 quicker than the leader last time around. So Finley Crocker now only 2.5 seconds behind Ollie Taylor. Now this is either A, Ollie Taylor managing the tyres, knowing that he's got a big gap and he doesn't really need to push too hard, or B, Ollie Taylor running into tyre difficulties at about the same sort of time as he did in race 1. About half race distance was when it all started to unravel a bit for the race leader. He was second place at the time in that previous race. He started to drop away from race leader and into the clutches of Dan Lloyd behind him. Well, are we starting to see now a return of the tyre woes for Ollie Taylor? He's still got a comfortable lead, so he may just be sort of managing the gap and trying to make sure that he doesn't overwork the tyres too much. There is the leader, and that gap is definitely starting to creep down. That's mainly, I think, because Finley Crocker had started to get away from Andreas Beckman as well, and wasn't therefore having to defend quite as hard to keep the Swedish driver behind. Andreas' teammate and sister, Jessica Beckman, is behind. Jessica looking for her second podium finish of the year, if it's all possible. Now, said pre-race that there were no team orders at West Coast Racing. That means there are more than likely no orders between the two siblings either. So if Jessica has a chance to attack her brother, she will. She's got the headlights on now as well, just to let him know that she's coming. So Jessica Beckman wanting to join in the podium fight if she can. The lead gap came down by another 3/10 that time, so 2.3 is now the gap. With 9.25 minutes to go, is there enough time for Finley Crocker to catch the race leader? I wonder now whether Finley's been playing this one really cleverly, because we saw in the first half of the race he was under lots of pressure from Beckman and really didn't even seem to attempt to go with Ollie Taylor. Was that maybe Finley playing it cleverly and trying to manage the tyres so that he can come on strong in the second half of the race? It's all fascinating, isn't it? And this abrasive circuit we've got here at Croft is adding a new dimension to the racing, really. Not only is it about the wheel-to-wheel action out on the circuit, you've got to drive with your head and make sure that you've got good speed over the entire 20 minutes, not just for the first or the last 10 minutes. So it really is providing fascinating racing, but Finley Crocker is now quite comfortably the fastest man on the track. Is a win possible? Will he go for the race win? I mean, he's running out of, officially speaking, a different team. This is the Verizon Connect team. It's run by Pyro Motorsport, but he's out there to try and get his own results, so there's no reason why he should back off and let Ollie Taylor take the victory. If he thinks that he's quicker, he's going to absolutely go for it, and this will be, I think, very emotional results for Finley Crocker. Even if it's just a second or a third place finish, there'll be a bit of emotion there for his first podium. If he's got a chance of a first victory, that would be a real fairy tale story. Well, on that lap, he was only 4/100ths quicker, so 4,000ths easily quicker than the race leaders. Almost an identical lap time set by both of the leading two, but their lap times are now both over a second off their best, as we're now into or approaching the final third of this race, with Ollie Taylor 2.3 seconds ahead of Finley Crocker in second place, Andreas Beckman is third, Jessica Beckman is fourth, Stuart Lyons fifth still, and Lewis Kent, I believe, back out on track now with a fresh front right tyre. Hopefully they've got the problem sorted now, whatever it was that caused the puncture. Hopefully it won't strike again. They might be able to go out there and still score a handful of points. So back down through the left-right at the Jim Clark S's, and Finley Crocker on this lap may be falling back towards Andreas Beckman potentially. Andreas certainly seems to be coming back to him through the second half of the lap. FK2 Civic, I was speaking to Josh Files, who of course has experience of driving both the new and the old shape Civic, and he said that they both have their different strengths and weaknesses, but the new car has really good traction and it's really nimble through the tighter sectors, particularly the third sector of the lap. There's Lewis Kent. Well, the car certainly seems okay now. He's really pushing on. I suppose it's now a glorified test session for the youngster, who's had a trying time at times this year, but when it's all been going well, he's been turning a lot of heads, and people realising that he is a star of the future. If only he can get a little bit of more good luck coming his way, then maybe a race win and a little more podiums could come his way over the final couple of rounds at Donington Park next time out. Through, still 2.4 seconds apart, so now go back out again ever so slightly. As maybe Finley Crocker is starting to realise that he's pushed his tyres too hard, and Andreas Beckman is starting to come back at him. These two have been running around nose to tail pretty much since the start of the race, really. Having started second and third respectively on the grid. They're second and third at the moment in the order. But Finlay Crocker is now going to have to start defending, I think, because Andreas Beckman is closer than ever as they drop down into towards Tower, and he was having a look up the inside line. Did he make that one work? Let's wait till they come out of the corner. No, still Finlay in front, but there was definitely a concerted effort to get up the inside there for the young Swedish driver. The drivers with their headlights ablaze, because whilst it's sunny in some parts of the circuit, the parts of the circuit where the sun is not out are very dark and gloomy, so they'll have to have their headlights on, but thankfully no sign of rain for the time being. 5 3/4 minutes left though, so there's still plenty of time for things to change here. Finlay Crocker in second position at the moment, with Andreas Beckman right on his bumper, but Andreas, who has been criticised a few times this year for his over-enthusiastic overtaking methods sometimes, and that's to be expected for somebody in his first ever season of circuit racing, particularly someone who's come from a rallycross background where it is pretty much full contact there, but he's really refined his driving style over the second half of the year, and particularly this weekend. That winning race one was really impressive because he just got out there in front, set a good pace, didn't use the tyres too hard, and now in this race he's impressing me again because he's really showing some good patience here. He's definitely quicker than Crocker again at this stage of the race, but he's not sort of launching into a rash manoeuvre so far at least, and he's keeping it nice and clean. He knows that he's quicker, and in theory if he just waits for his moment it should come to him. The thing is, it's very difficult to overtake here at Croft, so Andreas is going to maybe have to get a bit inventive to find a way past the Scotsman. Make their way back down the back straight. They're now 2.7 seconds behind the race leader, so Finlay I think definitely now turning his attention more to wing mirrors than he is looking out of the windscreen and trying to chase after the race leader. The Tower corner they go once again, down towards the Jim Clark S's, and the Horizon Connect car of Finlay Crocker. Already a double race victor this year, that car is in the hands of Ashley Sutton last time out. It's good to see that Finlay Crocker, and who owns the car of course, can get out there and put in good results as well. And his first podium result of the season could be in the offing. Can it be a second place? Will it be third? Will Andreas Beckman go through? If Andreas were to get through now, then he might even still have time to chase down Ollie Taylor, but this man Ollie Taylor really is driving sublimely in this race. He's doing exactly what Andreas did in the first race, pulling away, managing his tyres well, and just taking advantage of the shuffling and the battling going on behind him. Through the hairpin again, Crocker on the inside line, defending heavily, and looks a bit wide on the exit hand side round though, and you've got all that lock on the through the steering wheel, and you're trying to get the power down as early as you can, and that's what works the front tyres quite hard around here. Ollie Taylor though, so far, seems to be a lot more comfortable in racing the two, as well I suppose he might be, because he's not got Dan Lloyd breathing down his neck as he did for the second half of race one. With 3.5 minutes to go, he is nearly 3 seconds clear now of the Finlay Crocker and Andreas Beckman battle going on behind him. Ollie Taylor is most definitely going to be a championship contender come Donington Park. As I work it out, my maths always have been pretty rubbish, I reckon 30 points will be all that separate the two of them going into the penultimate round at Donington Park, or the penultimate race, the final 2 races of the season. For second place though, it couldn't be much closer here between Finlay Crocker and Andreas Beckman through the left-right at the Jim Clark S's, and Crocker fending him off. Now, where is Andreas going to make the move? That becomes the question, because the parts of the circuit where he's quick, and that seems to be sort of around the back of the circuit, doesn't it? Through here, through the S's, through Barcroft and Sunny, you can't really make an overtake up there. It's a very, very high-risk move to make if you do. The places to overtake are through the lower speed corners. Now that, in theory, is where the slightly shorter wheel-based FK2 Civic should have its advantage, but actually, Finlay seems to have these areas covered. You can see that he drives defensively into the right-hander there at the complex, runs wide on the exit, but it doesn't matter because it means it gives him the inside line for the hairpin anyway, and as long as he doesn't really make a mess of the hairpin, he's not going to allow Beckman alongside down the straight. So, Finlay Crocker driving cleverly here. That will be adding to the frustration of Andreas Beckman. You can see that he's quicker. He knows that if he can get through, he could probably pull away. Getting through is proving not to be the work of a moment. Down into Clermont they go again, and this time around Beckman goes to the outside on the way in, tries to get on the inside towards Hawthorne, but didn't quite have the impetus on the exit of the corner to do that. Now trying to work his way up the inside through this very, very long right-hander towards the chicane. We're on the penultimate lap of the race, by the way. This is lap number 13 of what is going to be a 14-lap race, and this is, as we saw in race one, it's the fight for second place that is providing most of the entertainment, because Ollie Taylor is looking ever more comfortable out in front now, 3.7 seconds ahead of Finlay Crocker and Andreas Beckman behind. Andreas Beckman, well, how much of a risk is he going to be willing to take? Can he find a way through into second position, I wonder? Through the left, through the right, again, through the first half of the lap, Crocker seems able to pull away. It's through the second half of the lap where Andreas just starts to reel him back in again. But the trouble is, he sort of gets to Finley just at the end of the lap, and he really needs to be closer to him at this point so as to be able to really mount the pressure through the final sequence of corners at the complex. That's where I think he's most likely to make the move, but he's never quite close enough to really sort of get Finley on the ropes and make him sort of force him into a mistake. Right hand of the go then, about to start the final lap of racing here for the TCR UK Championship. What has been an intriguing penultimate round of the championship at Croft. The championship is, by the looks of it, going to go down to the wire at Donington Park between Ollie Taylor and Dan Lloyd. It's going to be a much slimmer margin for Dan Lloyd than we ever expected it would be. Ollie Taylor, who's been well up for this, and he's been telling us all year long, I'm still in this, even when he was getting on for 100 points behind the championship leader mid-season, he was still saying, I can win this championship, you better believe me. And, well, we do believe him now, because he's put in a storming performance this weekend, a second place in race 1. He's only half a lap away or so now from the race victory in race 2, what will be his second victory of the year. The second place in race 1 was his third second place finish, but he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This will be his 9th finish inside the top 3. It's that wonderful consistency that has kept Ollie Taylor in the mix for the championship. It's all well and good going out there and winning all of those races like Dan did in the first half of the year, but you've got to have the consistency to go with it, and that's what Ollie Taylor has done. He's had no points penalties either, no grid penalties to be applied either, so Ollie Taylor has kept it nice and clean all season long, and he's now in the back half of the championship starting to reap the rewards for that. Down towards the final complex of corners he goes. Ollie Taylor in the Honda Civic, where he changed cars, of course, before the third meeting at Brands Hatch. I think that's had a lot to do with this real upturn in performance. The newer FK7 Civic, he fell in love with it immediately and was straight away on the pace. And could it carry him to the inaugural TCR UK Championship? We'll find out at Donington Park, because with a race victory here at Croft in race number 2, Ollie Taylor moves himself right into championship contention. Finley Crocker gets his first ever TCR podium, and given just how glum he was last time he raced in the championship at Castle Coobe, let's hope that puts a smile on the very popular Scotsman's face. Third place for Andreas Beckman. It's a win and a podium for the youngster. Not a bad weekend's work at all. His sister Jessica is in 4th position, with Stuart Lyons a slightly lonely 5th, and Lewis Kent will be classified as a finisher in 6th place, and so as a result will pick up 19 very valuable championship points. Remember, he lost 4th place in the championship to Jessica Beckman in the previous race. He will only actually lose 6 points to her in this race, so that is game on going into Donington Park as well. They're going to be separated by less than 10 points by my reckoning, going into the final 2 rounds. It's Ollie Taylor, though, who is the big winner here at Croft. Dan Lloyd out of the race on the opening lap of this second encounter at Croft, and that means that Ollie Taylor will take 40 points out of Dan Lloyd. He was 71 points behind coming into the race. That means he will be 31 points behind going to Donington Park. Here is confirmation of the result. It's Ollie Taylor from Finley Crocker, your top 2. It's actually a Honda Civic Type R 123 with the 2 newer shaped cars ahead of Andreas Beckman's race 1 winning version in 3rd. Jessica Beckman comes home in a 4th position, only 7 seconds covering those top 4. It was actually quite close at the very head of the field. Stuart Lyons in 5th. Lewis Kent will be classified in 6th, but the big news is that Dan Lloyd will score 0 points here from race number 2 at Croft. He hasn't won a race since Castle Coobe. It's been 5 races now since he last took the checkered flag. Well, here are some highlights of what was a dramatic race in TCR UK. Went on made dramatic races. That seems to have been the case all year long. Ollie Taylor led into the first corner by a comfortable margin over Finley Crocker in 2nd, whilst Dan Lloyd was trying to make progress from 5th on the grid. But drama struck not even half a lap in when the front right suspension broke and pitched him off the road and into his first retirement of the season. The battle was then on for 2nd place as Finley Crocker was desperately trying to take his first podium finish of the year. Andreas Beckman, the race 1 winner, put him under all sorts of pressure, briefly drawing alongside on a couple of occasions throughout the first half of the race, before Finley, through the middle portion, was able to make things a little bit more comfortable. Beckman was never that far away, though, and again drew alongside down towards Clervaux about 2/3 of the way into the 20-minute encounter, but Finley still was not letting him through. Ollie Taylor, though, held on to take a race victory and to carve into the championship advantage of his big rival Dan Lloyd. they will be very close together going into the final round at Donington Park next time out. Finlay Crocker got his first podium of the year in second, and Andreas Beckman in third position rounds out what's been a really promising weekend for the young Scandinavian driver. Well, there is Ollie Taylor. He's down at the end of the pit lane. He's taking a few deep breaths. I bet that he can barely believe his luck, because we were saying going into the race that, yes, he could go out there and win the race, but it was likely that Dan was still going to get on the podium, and realistically, it was going to take some misfortune for Dan Lloyd to put Ollie Taylor into realistic championship contention. And 3 corners into the race, that's exactly what struck Dan. Lots of misfortune, damaged front suspension. He's out of the race. But Ollie Taylor is well and truly in the championship fight. And of course, it's a Pyro 1-2 as well. The Verizon Connect liveried car of Finlay Crocker in second place gets his first ever podium. And they will congratulate each other, I'm sure, on a job well done. These two do work together quite well behind the scenes to try and improve the setup on both of their cars. And Ollie Taylor and Finlay Crocker both reaping the rewards of that now in the second half of the season. Of course, Finlay's been running with this FK7 Civic since the start of the year. Ollie got his hands on his new car at the third round at Brands Hatch, and really since then hasn't looked back. He got a podium with it that first round, then got his first win next time out at Castle Combe, and this his second victory of the year. 31 points, by my reckoning, is all that will separate him from the championship leader going into the final meeting at Donington Park. Well, that is going to be a race meeting you do not want to miss. We're expecting, hopefully, a bigger grid that time as well, and lots more teams and drivers expressing interest in the championship, and as well they might, because, Bryn, this championship is going right down to the wire.
Right down to the wire and a bit. Ollie, well done. What can I really say? I mean, that was breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what we wanted, wasn't it? Lights to flag. Yeah, great. That's what we came for this weekend. The approach to qualifying, our little tactics, that's what we were aiming for. We gave ourselves the best chance. Yeah, great start, and off we went. It was good fun as well, not being in that pressured environment, just really working with the car, and brought it home.
And how was it? Obviously, you don't really know what's going on behind you too much, but you would have seen Dan pull over to the side. You'd have come down the start finish, looked to your right, and seen that car sitting there. So, what happens in your mind at that stage?
You don't want to think about it too much, really. The guys told me over the radio, not sure for what reason. It's a bit of a shame, because we like to have a battle, but at the end of the day I've got to think about my own championship. Obviously I had a DNF at Not Kill down here, so yeah, certainly tightened things up a little bit, but we still just got to keep focused, foot on the gas, and get as many points as we can with results like that. Now,
you had a race win at Castle Combe, but we didn't get to do this chat because it happened in different circumstances. But this is the first time we've spoken to you since you've got out of a car as a race winner, your second TCR UK race win. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. I thought about that when we went. I didn't get to do this last time, so no, yeah, definitely it's great result for me and for the team. Pyro Motorsport obviously putting a fantastic car under me as always. So yeah, it's been great.
And of course your teammate, who's standing right behind. Let's grab him over. Finlay, make your way over here as well. Your teammate, Finlay, who, well, let's just say he's not had the best season by his own admission, but Finlay, second place. Emotional?
Tiring. No, you know what? I've kind of known all along that we've had the capability of doing it. You just really need to get it all together. And sometimes, things work in your favour, and sometimes they don't. We benefited from a, second place start. The car was mega, and just, I always chuckle when I hear people stand up and they come out with all the waffle and all that, but guys have put together a first-class car. So 1-2, I'm chuffed to bits.
And of course you were pushed the entire way. This is something, I think, the first time that we've been able to watch you properly race, because Andreas pushed you and pushed you and pushed you. Very fair racing, but that was just phenomenal.
I know I can race. I've just need to shed about 3 stone and get a bit closer at the front to start with. So, I would say my racecraft generally has been one of my stronger attributes, and it was just, I could see where he was strong and I knew where I was stronger, and it was getting out of that last corner was just killing me lap after lap, and I'm thinking he's going to get me the next time, he's going to get me the next time. But we just managed to keep enough of a gap in the right places, and he could have had some kind of crazy lunges and some people wouldn't. He didn't, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, fantastic. It was a great race for us to watch as well. You having to keep him behind you actually let Ollie relax a bit, I think.
Yeah, it did, and I'm actually standing here now. It just kind of dawned on me. It's a 1-2-3 for Honda, so big thanks to Yas as well for the cars that they've produced, and we've got there in the end, and Yeah, this sort of semi-retirement caper's not too bad.
Go and get your first trophy this season. Well done.
Okay, cheers.
There you go, second place for Finley Crocker. What a performance from him. Actually, I'm going to grab Ollie for a second. I've already spoken to him, but Ollie, when you saw that Finley was directly behind you and you knew that he was behind with Andreas behind him, were you expecting him to do a job and to hold Andreas as much as possible?
No, we had no team orders. You know, we talk about a few things before the start of the race, but you can't predict anything that's happened. You can try and make a plan, and it's never going to happen. So saw Finn and Andreas behind, you know, and let them get all their own thing. Had my head down. Once we got that sort of a gap, 3 or 4 seconds, I think it was, just then got to manage it. I didn't know if Andreas managed to get past, I might still need a little bit of a car beneath me to defend. So it was a bit about managing the pace, managing the tyres. I probably could have turned up the wick a little bit if needed, but Finley obviously done a great job of defending. It's great for the team to have a 1-2, and for Honda's 1-2-3. You know, it's great for everything really. So yeah, it's a great result.
Yeah, well done. Well, I'm going to grab Andreas now. We've already spoken to Ollie twice now, giving him way too much coverage really. You know, we didn't give him any coverage when he won the race last time around at Castle Combe. So I'm just going to tread over these wires and just try not to make a complete fool of myself. But Andreas, if we can grab Andreas. Andreas, congratulations. That was a really hard-fought race, and you worked so hard pushing Finley, but you just couldn't quite get past.
Yeah, it was really tough to get past him. I felt I was quicker, but I couldn't really be fast enough in the places where it was possible to overtake. So it was really difficult, but I did my best all the time. And yeah, in the end, third is still a good point. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you think about your time here at Croft, you're a happy man?
Yeah, I'm really glad. It's my first win and my first pole, and now a podium as well. So it was a really good weekend.
It's a good habit to get into.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Go get your trophy. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
There you go, our top 3, and Ollie Taylor very, very happy. I mean, what a race that was, wasn't it, Andy? Ollie getting the race win, but coupled with Dan Lloyd parking up behind us over there. Drama, drama, drama.
You couldn't script it, could you really? That is absolutely true, Bryn, and I cannot wait for Donington Park. Here is how the championship standings look, and even more remarkably, my maths were right. 31 points separate Dan Lloyd and Ollie Taylor, with 91 still available and 40 for a race win. A win for Taylor, a non-finish for Dan Lloyd, and Taylor will have the championship lead. That is how close it is. Andreas Beckman is third. Now, mathematically, he is now out of contention, so it is just down to those two. Beckman in third, though, is clear of Jessica Beckman in fourth. The other battle to watch out for is going to be between Jessica and Lewis. They are just 6 points apart for fourth place in the championship. Lewis down in fifth. Stuart Lyons is sixth with Finley Crocker seventh. Now, that could change as well if Finley has another weekend like he's had here at Croft. Carl Swift is eighth place. We're hoping to see him return as well after his accident at Alton Park. Derek Palmer equal with him in eighth, with Darren Wilson, who didn't take the start in that race. Hopefully he'll be back ready and raring to go next time at Donington as well. Howard Fuller still in the top 10, despite the fact he only took part in 2 race meetings at the start of the year. Ashley Sutton, of course, in 11th place, scored the maximum 91 points with his double race victory last time out. And then some of the drivers who have guested over the course of the season but haven't been with us for the full year. But you can see that we've had 18 different drivers now who have raced in the championship, and let's hope that we can get a few more of those out next time at Donington Park, because the championship could not be more exciting, and with a few more cars on the grid, the racing will be equally as exciting. Here is the podium presentation then. Andreas Beckman makes his second appearance onto the podium today. It's not quite the top step this time, but it's a solid third place finish. There is Finley Crocker, and he comes up with his first ever podium of the year, and a popular one that is as well. He's such a popular figure in the paddock, and you can see why. He is a really genuinely lovely guy, and he thoroughly deserves this podium result. But the race winner and the man who is seriously applying the pressure in the championship now is Ollie Taylor. Ollie Taylor, former Caterham racing star before he turned his attention to TCR, and well, there he is on the top step of the podium with the winner's garland. More importantly, 40 championship points that he takes and 40 championship points that he scores over Dan Lloyd. And he made the point, Ollie, that he himself had a non-finish back at Knock Hill, ironically, after contact with Dan Lloyd's teammate Jessica Beckman. Had that not happened, Ollie would actually be leading the championship now. That is how your season can change based on one good or one bad result, and that is not something that's lost on these drivers. They're well aware that this championship is still all to play for. So the champagne sprays for the second time here at Croft. Ollie Taylor is a race winner and a genuine championship contender. Do not miss Donington Park, the final rounds of the championship on the 14th of October. Make sure you're either there trackside or watching on the live stream, because the racing is going to be intense, the championship battle even more so. This championship is going right down to the very end.